Hello, and welcome to the Kathleen Sprackling podcast, where I'm still busily teaching Zettelkasten because so many of you are asking questions and are telling me that my videos are helping you get started and actually doing your Zettelkasten. That's the whole point. If you don't do it, it doesn't help you. So today I want to talk about a pitfall in a Zettelkasten, and that's the possibility that you might be creating dead zones. What is a dead zone? A dead zone is a section of your Zettelkasten that will not ever, once it's complete, will never again have more cards added into it. And there are two main reasons why you might end up with a dead zone. The first kind is less worrisome because it's repairable. And the second kind, the main reason, which I'm going to mostly talk about, it's dead and it's going to stay dead. All right. The first one that you can repair. It's easy to get into a habit when you're first starting your Zettelkasten and you've got a book and you've made your bib cards and now you've made main cards off of your bib cards and you've created a clump of cards. Maybe it's from a book. Maybe it's because you're taking a course in college or something and you've created a block of main cards that apply to that book or that course. Now, what happens after that? You have to make sure that you've indexed that section appropriately. There might have been a temptation to not do so much indexing because after all, it's all organized like the book or organized like the course. And you can get into what you need for that review for the exam or whatever by diving into the cards themselves. But if you don't have them properly indexed, nothing will ever go into that group. And that means you won't ever get any interaction between the ideas in those cards and what you might come to learn in the future. And you don't want to make these dead zones because dead zones are just take up space. Once you're finished with whatever that is, they're just dead. They're just taking up space in your Zettelkasten. And what we want to always have is an integration of ideas. Now, an exception is when you're reading a foundational book in a brand new topic. Because when you're reading a foundational book in the brand new topic, it's all you have for that new area. Okay, the main cards that you create are going to be all tightly together for that section, but index every card appropriately. Make every card appropriately according to the guidelines of main cards, which we've discussed elsewhere, and index appropriately. Because once you finish that foundational book, every subsequent book is going to be playing right into that block of cards, and they're going to grow and grow and grow. That is not a dead zone. Now there's another whole type of dead zone that can occur that I want to caution you against. This one is more a geographical awareness, but there's a problem. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because of the problem, not so much as the geography. When you are creating something out of your Zettelkasten, maybe you're writing an essay, you're writing a blog post, you're writing a book. If you do your creation onto main cards, as you might for a thesis, when you're done, you have a block of cards that is a dead zone. That is guaranteed to be a dead zone because the thesis is done, the book is done, the podcast is done, and nothing is going to add into it. What I came to realize when I did my 35-week course, Reawaken the Dream of Writing, it's available on YouTube. It's absolutely free. You might want to check that out. But in the process, I'm going to show you the stack of cards that I created that was a dead zone. Nothing is going to add into this because the material that I drew from is elsewhere in my Zettelkasten. And the writing that I did for these courses is all captured onto bib cards. These cards that are in this big thick stack are really bib cards. they're notations of where I wrote the material for the section that it covers. So these are really bib cards. They have numbers as though they were Zettelkasten name cards, and some of them are indexed, but not all. Again, because of the temptation when you're building a dead zone, there's a strong temptation to say, well, it's already kind of indexed. And so what I did with this group of cards, it's a hunk of geography that was just stuffings taking up space in my most active area of my Zettelkasten. So what I did was I actually moved them. I physically stashed them in my bib box, because that's really what they are, is bib cards. And this experience is what taught me that every time I go to write, I really need to make out a bib card and put them there. Okay, now, that just main thing is just geography. You don't want to junk up your main box with cards that you're not going to review again unless it's very targeted specifically to that subject. There's a bigger drawback to creating your essay, your thesis onto main cards, and that is the presumption that you already have main cards for everything. But if they're not individually indexed, you don't really have them. And if you can't add a child card to them, if a child card can't say, oh, that's my parent, and be able to be inserted there, you don't have them because they can't create conversations. So that's why I suggest that you go ahead and put them on a bib card, a bib collective, where you gather your sources, you gather your other main cards that you used for your creation, you gather your writings on your yellow legal pad and note where they were. And then if a gem occurs to you while you're writing that wasn't in your sources, that isn't yet in your regular main card, make a main card for it. Because that gem needs to go into your Zettelkasten. And if you don't make a main card for it, it's going to get buried. It's going to get buried in your book, in your thesis, and it's not going to be able to interact with your other cards. If you make a bib card for it, then when you find that gem, you can say, that one deserves a main card in its own right. So don't build dead zones in your Zettelkasten. They aren't productive. You will have a whole bib box. That's the place to create them, is your bib box. And if you created little dead zones from a book has its own spot, and the next book has its own spot, and the next book has its own spot, break that habit right away. Go through them one by one, index them properly, and let other cards start coming into them. Because those are just, for the moment, they're dead. They don't have to stay dead. If you're creating your output onto main cards, don't do it. Create them onto bib cards. Thank you. Bye-bye.